Hello there, what is going on, and welcome back to another episode of Double Critical, the third season, the Versus season. Although I am making an X rather than a V, and with me, as always, is my number two guy, my number one guy. I don't know. No, I think I'm the number one guy. I don't know. Are you my number two?
You're the number one.
If I'm calling you a number two guy, does that make you kind of like a duty? Does that make you a duty?
I guess I'll take it.
No. All right, my number one guy, Sean Abbott. What's going on, Sean?
Hey everybody.
All right, so
back again.
yeah, we are going to be talking about Star Wars Legion today. The theme of this third season is versus matchups, where we take two different characters that are not in Star Wars Legion yet. We kind of put them against each other, head-to-head format. And we talk about them. Ultimately, we're trying to decide who's going to show up in Star Wars Legion first.
And cool things they have and all that. And we don't prep much. We don't pre-plan too much. Besides, hey, this is what we're looking at.
Exactly. It should be a good time. We are going to start things off with some powerhouses. Powerhouses today. Very, very. The theme of this one is there is no theme. So, you know. Yeah, I don't always have, well, at least the theme of the first, sometimes there's a theme between individual pairs, but I don't usually put a theme for a whole episode. Maybe that's something we'll do. I don't know. But
I would say the theme for this first one is your wish list theme.
It is my wish list theme, and we're going to start off right now. By the way, if you guys are new here to the channel, we've got, in addition to Thrawn and Mace Windu being the first head-to-head, I want to remind you guys we are giving away a lightsaber. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment. Also, check the... well, that's to enter to win. You're not automatically winning a lightsaber for doing that. You have a chance to win. Only one person is going to win the lightsaber. But there's always another giveaway. So, but yeah, also check the links down in the description below. We'd love to have you join the Discord. We'd love to have you follow social media. We'd love to have enter the painting contest that's going on right now. Sean entered the painting contest.
Yes, I did. And after you talked it up, I was like, hey, I have something ready.
It's messed up because I think you're gonna win right now, or at least be in the running. But then I'm like, I can't like my best friend win. Like that's like I'm cheating.
It.
You know, like I know it's like, but maybe I'll pull executive. Maybe there'll be two winners. Maybe there'll be two winners. I'm disclaiming if you win, I have to also pick another winner. So
fair enough.
All right, because it's a very nice paint job. You guys should go check out the paint jobs in the.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, so
that's one of my favorites.
I am still working on the Age of Sigmar army too. I'm working on this. I'm working on a pink army. I got one mini posted in there. All right, so it's, but I have these guys on the screen. I should have waited until I flipped the slide. It's Thrawn and Mace Windu head to head. Yeah, the theme here is definitely like fan favorites or wish list. Like characters that I know a lot of people want to see show up in this game, and characters that are definitely pretty awesome, but in totally different ways, right?
Yeah, very iconic. Both are very recognizable. I mean,
yeah,
Mace Windu was the first person to see with a different color lightsaber besides blue and green.
Yeah.
Thrawn is Thrawn.
Yeah, yeah. Thrawn is huge. Thrawn is like the ultimate Legends character. Mace Windu is the ultimate badass, and it's. Can I say that? Can I say that word? I think we're far enough into the show. I can say I can curse once per episode. I try to stay family friendly, so I apologize for that. But
I get pretty clean, which is
you are. It's hard because it's hard to describe Mace Windu or Samuel L. Jackson without using any swear words. So that's it. I'm gonna try. It was his wallet that said the infamous words that I won't repeat here. Yeah. The rumor was his lightsaber was going to say the same thing when he first got cast. So this is a tough one because I want to talk about these characters a little bit and as to who we might get first. I think this really could be an even split. I think they both have promising. They both have a lot of promise.
Yes, that's where it's gonna be very like we did go past our bias because at least for me, because I know I love Thrawn, but like Mace Windu is a very strong contender because also they're different factions.
Right.
I mean, you could do a Republic Thrawn. I mean, if you read the prequel series,
I don't think you would, but I mean I could see the argument for it. I could definitely see the argument for doing a Republic Thrawn, but I wouldn't really subscribe to that. I would, however, love to see, in addition to Legion, but specifically for Armada, I'd love to see new factions come out, like a Chiss Ascendancy faction with Thrawn. But like that would be pretty darn cool. But before I start talking about Armada, let's get back on track with Legion here. Now,
All right.
so first thing I want to talk about Mace Windu a little bit because look, he is pretty awesome in the Republic faction, and let some pros and cons on why he may or may not show up in the game. He's certainly recognizable for pros, right? He's recognizable. He's got some cool poses too, so I could easily see a lot of sculpt options.
Yeah.
Like like when he's like his big fight with Palpatine is like he swings the lightsaber kind of wide. He fights in episode 2 a little bit for the first time.
His stuff in the episode 2 was really cool too. It was like the arena fight and everything was really good.
Yeah, and he straight up cut off heads and stuff. So like he's kind of brutal, and of course having a new lightsaber color also, I think it adds a lot to the type of Jedi that you'll see in the Republic, because everybody's gonna have a blue or green lightsaber, and so having him out there is really cool. But I think for a con, we've got a lot of lightsaber users already, and they've already confirmed Ahsoka is coming. So at what point do you have too many Jedi when you can only have 2 commanders and 2 operatives? And unless of course they do a Jedi only battle force.
That's probably the biggest thing. Actually, the biggest con, because there are so many Jedi, so many variants. Like, how different can he be from other ones? And
right, and I think they've covered a lot of the different saber fighting styles too.
Well, actually, no. His is very unique.
His is vapid, right?
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, Star Wars nerds.
Right, but what I thought, so again, I'm not as up to speed on all the fighting techniques, but I thought Vapid or Vapod, however you pronounce it, is only one of the 2 names. Like, there's another name for that same form, and I thought it's already reflected in is it Anakin's or is it...
No. So as far as I know, Vapod is actually the other. I think the other form, I can't remember right now, but is a dark side form. It's a. Was it
Atari Mastery? That's
Ataru.
Ataru. Yeah, I thought Vapid and Ataru were 2 different names for the same thing.
I'll look at my phone.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I'm and I'm thinking to myself, don't we already have an Ataru?
We have Ataru with Yoda. Yoda has Ataru. Technically, Ahsoka would have too. She was an Ataru. She was also Ataru. Or I guess stylist.
Yeah, and so part of me thinks that maybe they went too far with some of the mastery names, because now you wouldn't have everything, right? But if you have a Taru mastery, that means you can perform 2 attack actions, which if that was the same as Vapod, or if it was at least a flavor of Vapid or Vapid or whatever, then maybe it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility for Mace Windu to be able to attack twice.
I can so the idea of Vapid was that it borders the line of aggression It borders that line of aggression, and
uses a little bit of the dark side, just a little bit, right?
It's that very thin line of I'm being aggressive for the good, and that's why this doesn't cross over kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it can easily slip into an anger. It can, as it's described, it can slip into anger.
Yeah, but it's perfect for Sam Jackson too to be able to do that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I can see as a Legion style, maybe something you cannot, if you do you can't use defensive tokens, or is it something that maybe it's a deny, kind of like how we have Maul has a deny defensive tokens, something in that line for the Republic.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I wonder if maybe he would have a thing where he still gets deflect, but when he spends the dodge, he doesn't actually get to cancel a die. So he still gets, or maybe he doesn't get the surge for defense option. Maybe he doesn't get the search for defense option, but he still, if he spent a dodge, he can still deflect one or something like that.
Okay. No, I can see that too.
It would be more aggressive for sure. I mean, it would have to be part of a bigger picture. Maybe he'd have to have surge to crit or at least surge to hit, or something like that. But yeah, so there's and I could see him having certainly a potentially more powerful lightsaber. It becomes hard to have bigger and better lightsabers when you've already got Vader with 6 red, right? You've got Luke with 7 black, and you got Maul with 4 red and 4 white. I don't think you try to top the number of dice. I think Maul is the highest dice pool we're going to see natively on any weapon. I think that's generally going to be, unless we start getting an AT-AT or something like that. But I think with Mace Windu, you could do something a little different. I think he could be borderline Darth Vader. Maybe it's not quite 6 red dice, but maybe it has a higher Pierce number. Like, what if he's got like 5 dice and Pierce 4?
Okay.
You know,
Pierce. Someone has. I don't want to say diminishing returns because I mean.
Yeah, you have to have enough. Like Pierce 3 is a lot of times going to be all you need.
Yeah, exactly. At a certain point, like you've locked all you've hit.
Right. So it would be good against certain characters. Like it'd be really great if he had Pierce 4 and Makashi mastery, like like Dooku. Like, oh, I still have Pierce 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see him having, like, if he were to have like a Pierce 4, it would have to kind of stack with some other mechanic. Like maybe he has marksman, or what's the thing where you can spend an aim to just manufacture an. You need to make sure all 5 of those dice were hits.
I think it's marksman. I think that is marksman.
Yeah. I don't know if marksman works with. I don't think marksman works with melee attacks though. So it would have to be some kind of melee equivalent.
Yeah, like overpower Zord one from Chewbacca already has.
He could have overpower. Yeah.
Overpower or take advantage, maybe something like that.
But I think if you're going to give him less dice but make them count for more, he'd have to have a built-in mechanic that allows him to have some dice mitigation. Yes. And maybe that's as simple as the when you move you get a free aim token like Rex and some of the clones have.
Oh, the tactical,
tactical one.
Tactical be there.
I could see him having tactical one along with some kind of higher Pierce value. So that could certainly be a thing. Or maybe you give him slightly more dice, but not out of the not completely crazy. Like maybe 3 red. Or 4 red, 2 black, and a white. So technically, it's still 7 dice, but it's not as reliable, right?
It's something it's lightsabers are tough, man. Like it's one thing. Like
it should be. He should hit. He should hit like a truck, though. That's the idea. Yeah. And the thing is, I think you need to also build him in a way that he should be able to defeat Palpatine in a one-on-one fight, right? And Palpatine's tough because he's got red defense dice and surge for defense, and he's immune to Pierce.
Oh yeah.
So and Palpatine also hits like a truck. So I think that should be kind of one of the goals, rather than getting into too many specifics. I think the goal should be that he should be like a Sith killer.
Yeah. Man, that'd be an interesting title.
And he should be somebody who could defeat Palpatine or Vader potentially. But I think you probably have to give him a flaw. But I mean, I don't want to have to give everybody a flaw. No. He doesn't necessarily need a flaw.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a flaw because, I mean, his flaw was that he didn't.
Anakin was his flaw. Maybe it was Anakin's flaw was actually his downfall. So it was somebody else's flaw.
Exactly. So yeah,
the flaw could just simply be his cost. Like not every flaw has to be a flaw card. It can always just be a built-in weakness, like lack of. Maybe he has no offensive surge. Yeah.
And another thing too, like I'm thinking, like in terms of like. So there's so many Jedi. Like how many command cards? Like he's an aggressive lightsaber user. We have Anakin for that. We have Luke. Luke and it's how much variance are we gonna have in command cards where he's actually different. I mean,
that's true. That's a good point.
Like you can have like a shatter point. He had this cool thing where he could see the breaking point of stuff, and that's cool novel. Like great.
Or maybe he can force the opponent to re-roll defense dice. Like, oh, you rolled 3 blocks? Hold on, re-roll those. So maybe he doesn't have the crazy Pierce, but he's got something else.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Or maybe he has. I got it. I got a great idea. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he only has Pierce 1, or maybe he has no Pierce at all. But instead, he has a different ability, like I said, to force a defender to re-roll any number of their defense dice. And that is his way through other Jedi. That's how he could defeat Palpatine. He's like, oh, I don't care that you're immune to Pierce. I can still force you to re-roll those red blocks.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's actually that makes the Jedi, the Sith killer thing, and makes him unique. I like that. Ooh,
okay.
I actually like that.
All right, there we go. All right. But maybe at the same time, maybe his weakness is that he isn't immune to Pierce himself. Maybe he gains, like that's interesting. That's interesting.
It's interesting, but I think it'd be,
maybe not thematic.
Not thematic, and it would also be very. It makes him a very big glass cannon, which that's not the character I see him as. The only other thing I could, like a natural weakness I could give him is maybe if he had a lower courage value. Not that he's not brave, but he was killed by a suppressive type of attack, or at least blown out a window by force lightning, which is a suppressive attack. So. Maybe he's prone to panicking, right? Because we didn't actually. I'm in the camp that Mace Windu didn't actually die. He just got hurt real bad and got his hands cut off. And Jedi can survive with artificial hands. We know that, right? Yep.
So I'm of the mindset that we're going to see a robot-armed Mace Windu at some point. Now, granted, if you guys are watching this and a robot-armed Mace Windu has shown up in canon before, after we record this and before this goes live, then I called it here because I have no insider knowledge. So if Book of Boba Fett, the next episode or something is like, hey, surprise, guys, here's a robot-armed Mace Windu, then wow, good timing because I didn't watch, I haven't seen anything like that yet, but when you record content in advance, sometimes these crazy things happen. All right. Yeah. So, let's move. Good.
In comparison to Thrawn, Thrawn is a very different character. Where we go from the super aggressive, now we go to the hyper intelligent, the Sherlock Holmesy.
Right.
I mean, we already have some mechanics from like you mentioned before. Strategic reserve or reinforcements is a great one for Thrawn.
Oh, it is. It is. I think the super tactical droid is a fantastic kind of representation. Specifically, Kalani is the one that I think is a great one, who very, very closely imitates what a Thrawn character would be like in this game. Supporting a lot of support functionality and a lot of strategy and cunning. And I think there's so many really, really good keywords that Thrawn would have in this game that it really makes sense based on. I wouldn't have said it at the beginning of the game because I thought like when Legion first launched, we had Luke and Vader, and you're thinking like these commanders need to be people we see fight on the ground a lot. And we only saw Thrawn fly. Most people have never seen. Well, I won't say most people, but a lot of people know Thrawn as a naval commander. But in Rebels season 3, in Rebels season 3, he did fight on the ground.
Yep, and against the Bendu.
Yeah, and he had the white helmet, kind of like Veers. You actually painted me a little Veers repainted as Thrawn. So and he's showed up in a couple of battle reports as well. So like there's definitely that, right? But I mean, between strategize, which is one of the super tactical droid keywords, which gives somebody a suppression, an aim, and a dodge. You gain a suppression to give them an aim and a dodge. Like that's perfect. Thrawn is the master strategist. He could easily have that, and reinforcements is great.
Yep, and cunning too. That's
cunning. Absolutely.
Maybe he has higher. I mean, he has like supreme cunning or something. Like his command cards go. If it's generic, it still goes first because it's Thrawn.
It could be. He could. Yeah, it could be a heightened version of cunning. I don't know if I would give him that, but that's a possibility. I was thinking of this. I was thinking Thrawn would have a command card similar to Han Solo's card that basically says, no, do this over. Right? Han Solo has the do-over command card.
Yeah.
Right? So Thrawn would have a do-over command card, but he gets to choose it for himself. So basically, when we're playing Star Wars Rebellion, and you play that battle card, it's like, oh, I may play another. So I get to look at your command card. What did you play? Oh, you played a 1-pip? Oh, in that case, I'm going to take this back to my hand, or discard this. I'm going to play a whole different card. I'm going to just play, I'm going to play standing orders, or something like that. And so knowing that, and that could figure into the mind game stuff. He's playing Thrawn, so I know he's got that ace in the hole of being able to redo a command card. And since he has cunning, even if I play a 1-pip, he can be like, nope, psych, I'm going to play my 1-pip and trump your 1-pip. And even if he doesn't play that card, he's holding that card, so that influences all of your decision making the whole game.
Right. I'm gonna throw an idea here. I don't know if this can be too broken or not.
Okay.
What if he's one of the few commanders that has more than 3 command cards?
Absolutely broken. No. That makes sense. That could work. And one of the reasons that could work is we've already seen like Lando and Callus, and they have the contingencies. So what if Thrawn also came with contingencies? I mean, you already have contingencies in the Empire, right? And it wouldn't break the faction to have another character with contingencies. It would just be a little bit more organic if he happened to have more contingencies. And now here's the question: what we haven't seen yet is we haven't seen more than one contingencies within a faction. So what happens if you combine Callus with contingencies 2? With Thrawn, who has maybe contingencies 3. Now you've got contingencies 5. So you get to set 5 command cards to the side. So he now has a ton of options.
Oh, okay. I like that. That's okay.
And he might come, or maybe he only comes with the 3, but maybe his can be used by other characters. Maybe part of his contingency is this could be a Thrawn card, or it can be a generic. And if Thrawn plays it, it gets a bonus, but generics can still use it. Right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Here's another idea.
Okay.
I know we're not talking about this. It's a little bit different because it's Mace versus Thrawn, but Thrawn did have a counterpart called Rook.
Yes, he did. He absolutely did.
That'd be kind of a cool thing too, because because I don't see, if Thrawn were to have any combat stuff, it would have. I mean, not Thrawn is. He's a great melee guy. We've seen that, or I guess
he can. Yeah, he would have a respectable melee, like at least 3 black dice, I think, for melee for him. I think 3 black dice is reasonable because he was going up against training droids, right? So like they were, but they were set to be more aggressive. So I have to go watch that again. But he held his own. He definitely practices. He keeps up with his physical fitness.
Yeah. So, but like he has to have at least a weak range just to make it more balanced. Again, I mean, we love Thrawn, but we can't have
1 to 2 range, 1 to 2. Probably kind of like similar to Veers. I think he would have probably about the same thing as Veers. Maybe not sharpshooter though.
Yeah, I agree. And no sharpshooter.
Mm-hmm.
He would be a pure support in a sense of a commander time, a pure support commander.
Yeah. I agree with that. And you just give him the melee so he can defend himself a little bit in case if you rush in. Yeah, I would give him the red defense dice, though, because if he's on the ground, he's probably wearing that Veers-style armor, right? Yeah. But at the same time, if you're going to make a Thrawn sculpt, I think you have a hard time trying to sculpt Thrawn in the Veers armor, even though he did technically appear that way in Rebels Season 3. Yeah. At best, you give him like an alternate sculpt, because most people are going to want Grand Admiral Thrawn in the white officer's uniform. Like, you're going to want that appearance on the ground. Because that's the thing, is recognizability drives sales, drives marketing decisions, drives corporate and Lucasfilm's thumbs up and all of that stuff. So you have to have a version of Thrawn, if you're going to make Thrawn for this game, that looks like the Thrawn that we all know and love. So maybe he doesn't get the red defense die. Maybe he ends up being like he steps onto the ground and he's maybe that's one of his biggest weakness. Like, maybe because if he is martially capable, but also a pure support, then maybe you have to give him some weakness. Yeah.
And I think that big recognizability factor is what's going to kind of play into like which of these is coming out first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So who do you think is going to come out first?
I'm going to put my money on Thrawn because we've already had him spoiled in Mandalorian. I mean, I don't know if this is. That's
his name. His name has been spoiled in Mandalorian. Yeah, we know that like the live action Thrawn story is coming. Yeah. So
his name's been dropped, in a relatively recent production. His book series just finished, so they have more. We have background on him. Mm-hmm. He's got that recognizable red eyes, blue skin. Where Mace Windu is very recognizable, but we already have a lot of Jedi. He is, as far as I know, not showing up anything new, and they tend to like to plan things ahead. So I would put my money on Thrawn because of possible future things coming out, and they can capitalize on that.
Okay, we're very, very close on this one. I'm going to lean towards Mace Windu, but just barely. I do think Thrawn has a lot of incentive to, definitely very recognizable. They rank both like 5 stars out of 5 stars for recognizability, in my opinion. But Thrawn also mirrors a lot of what we got with Kalani and the super tactical droid. So I think all of the mechanics to make Thrawn work absolutely work. The only drawback is that he's seen more of as a naval commander more so than a ground commander, which might kind of, and maybe because there is some live action stuff, they may be holding off and saying, hey, let's wait and see how he shows up in live action first, because we don't want to make a character that's largely informed by legends and then find out that we made a crucial mistake in his design because they changed him in live action. So it might be a little bit farther out, whereas Mace Windu's stuff is already done. And, at least all of the Clone Wars era. So if you're doing him for the Republic, we have both bookends on that timeline. And we know that, where his story kind of starts and stops with his time in the Republic. So there's no wait and see stuff for Mace Windu. Now, but the thing that pushes it towards Mace Windu a little bit more so, despite there already being a lot of Jedi, is that we have battle forces like getting announced like almost any day now.
Good point.
So I think there's definitely the possibility of getting a Jedi-oriented battle force, and that would be a huge driving force. And I'd already know, you and I did a Heroes Only game mode one time.
Yes.
Very, very fun. I wouldn't mind doing that again.
It was very unique.
It was yeah, and it works. You just treat it like a skirmish, and just use all uniques, or and that works great. And command cards is difficult to figure out, but it can be a lot of fun. And it's it's even quicker than skirmish, I think, or about the same time. But yeah,
I would say though the lightsaber users did have a little bit of advantage once they got close.
I think Iden Versio kicked butt because she had a ton. Yeah, the problem is all the Jedi are immune to Pierce, and some of the best attacks when you're doing hero mode only tend to have Pierce. So yeah, I think Dooku. I got to do that again with Dooku next time because I think he would work well there. Having Pierce 1 against people like Palpatine would be really, really.
I think we're due for another hero battle. That would be fun.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. All right, so I'm going to lean a little bit more toward Mace Windu because I suspect, and I've wanted for a long time for there to be a Jedi specific, especially since Yoda and Ahsoka are also coming out. I'm like they're already kind of overloaded with Jedi. They have more Jedi commanders than they can use, and Mace Windu is definitely not showing up as an operative. So I think they're already in the bucket of we need a Jedi battle force. Yeah.
Okay, I know we're this one has been going on long. Here's something I want to add in terms of what we're just talking about of ranks. Now, I don't know if it's too late in the Legion game to add some, but like I play Warhammer as well. One of the things that Warhammer has is a Lord of War, is a 40k. Basically, it's a separate part of like a HQ, but it doesn't count against your normal stack.
Oh, so like a hero unit that would have its own. You're seeing like a whole new rank.
A whole new, yes. So basically saying I have a whole new rank.
Well, dang, you throwing that out there, that changes everything. I would love to see. Let us know in the comments section if you guys would like to see a whole new rank show up in Star Wars Legion. I don't see them doing that because they can have battle forces, which can change the number of ranks that you get. But that's a cool idea.
That's more likely.
Yeah, I think that's their way of kind of doing the same thing, right? Like, hey, I want to take the right path. And you want to take the left path. Well, we can take the right path too, but we're just going to take like 3 lefts, and that'll make a right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing. All right. So you go for Thrawn, I go for Mace Windu. We're kind of split down the middle on this one, but very, very close. Let us know in the comments or on Discord what you guys think. Moving up next, it's Jango Fett versus Dengar. There's a little theme in this one too, and it's bounty hunters. But also cross era, right? Like cross faction, cross era.
Well, Dengar was in the Clone Wars. Like he showed up like on Boba Fett's team. I think he was played by Simon Pegg.
Yeah. So here we go. There's a whole I mean, obviously the images that I'm using, the likenesses that I'm using are certainly cross era, but yeah, there's definitely the theme here is bounty hunters. I think they both have some likelihood with. Shadow Collective is coming out. So, if you asked me this same time last year, what about Dengar? I'm like, well, they've already got Boushh and Boba Fett. I mean, we just need IG-88 and Dengar and Forlom and Zuckuss, and there you go. But now with the Shadow Collective, it's like, wait, I don't think they're gonna do another Imperial bounty hunter. And then if they're not going to do an Imperial bounty hunter, how's Jango going to show up? Is he going to be Separatist, or is he going to be?
I mean, technically, that'd be a way Republic to get it down here because technically his DNA is what the clones are based off of.
Yes, so basically, from what I understand with the the way that the neutral units are, how they're being called right now, the neutral units in the mercs is that they can work in merc armies or anyone that can do it, but they can also work in certain other factions, but not all. Like the Pikes won't be able to go in every faction, but they can go in certain factions. And so I think Jango will be somebody who can work in a scum or a merc unit or a Shadow Collective unit or something like that, but he can also work with the Separatists. So you're going to have certain rules. And I think that's how either one of these guys could work. I think that's how we're going to see all scum and villainy type characters from this point forward.
Yeah, they're going to split off somehow like that. Because you can also, this is thrown out there, but what's the one bounty hunter that was Ahsoka's friend in Clone Wars with the Lancer ship?
Oh,
Ketsu Onyo.
Ketsu Onyo, yeah. Sabine's friend,
you mean? He would be a rebel / Shadow Collective. Dengar would be an Imperial / Shadow Collective.
Well, so actually, Shadow Collective is the name of the box, but it's also the name of one of the specific battle forces. So Shadow Collective is just Maul's specific battle force, whereas I believe all of the characters in there are considered mercs. So I think
Oh.
anybody who's like scum and villainy now in Legion is going to be considered mercs. And yeah, so I think that's making sure. Let us know if we got it wrong, but I think that's the best terminology we have right now. So not all mercs are Shadow Collective, but all Shadow Collective are mercs. I think. And granted, we'll have to see. There might be like Shadow Collective can also take Ezra Bridger, who happens to be a rebel, or something like that. Who knows? But
so this one's tough for me because I see Jango is more recognizable, but Dengar is near and dear to my heart in terms of he's one of the first books I read when I was in the library by myself as a kid.
Right.
I read this bounty hunting series, and he is, I think, different because Jango could be too much like Boba Fett. How do you differ them? Where Dengar he has the heavy blaster. He has maybe like grudge-based command cards, things like that.
So I think one of the big differences. So I want to talk about Jango first.
Okay.
Because a little spoiler warning. I am leaning towards Jango, mostly because of the recognizability, and the fact that he's so important to the Clone Wars story as a whole, and he looks so much cooler than Dengar does. Right, I think how
what do you mean he looks so much cooler? Dengar's got like the cool
he's got the mummy wraps. Yeah, maybe. All right, well, so that last part is objective, but yeah. So I think one of the big differences, you can easily differentiate Jango from Boba Fett with the gunslinger keyword, because the biggest difference when you look outside of the fact that their armors are different colors and stuff like that is that Jango uses 2 pistols. He dual wields pistols, whereas Boba Fett uses the larger rifle, right? So, so I think you make I think that's one huge like offensive difference. And then he's got more experience, right? Like he's got a different life story, so there's a lot of little things like his command cards could be totally different. And his backpack was in better working order, so you could give him like maybe. I mean, I don't know if you give him I don't know if you need to do jump 3. I think that's a little bit insane because But then again, he could be the first. Would he be the first jump 3 character? I don't know if that's even necessary.
Well, that could be interesting too, because like if he's gonna have gunslinger, he's gonna have pistols, which are generally range 1 and 2. Jump 3 is a way just to him to maneuver around. It maybe won't be like, hey, you won't be able to shoot stuff because you're so high up, but at least you have a better tactical position.
Well, the range is only measured from like you as if you're looking top down. So like your height above somebody has no bearing on whether or not you can shoot them. You just have to have line of sight. I think a cool way to make sure that, like, to reference that his equipment is newer than Boba Fett's. What if he has the ability to use his jump twice per turn? Like he has advanced jump.
Okay.
So he can jump with both attacks. He's got a brand new backpack.
Would you make him slower just to kind of balance that out? The fact he can just go
speed 2, maybe. Yeah, maybe he's speed 2 with advanced jump 2. Yeah. Or maybe he's only advanced jump 1, so he can't fly as high. I don't think he should have a disadvantage on his jump. I think his jump should be superior. But then again,
make that one of his command cards where like, hey, brand new equipment, you can use jump multiple times.
Oh yeah, maybe, or maybe it's like an overdrive. Maybe that's how it broke when Boba had it. Maybe that's why it's no longer good because Jango jumped too often. But yeah, so I think that's one of the things that you can do. You could also argue that he was rich. He had been paid very, very significantly, and then Boba was poor. So like Jango could have all kinds of resources, like subcontracting other bounty hunters. He might even come with the shapeshifter as like to help him accomplish his bounty. He could outsource the bounty.
Right. Yeah, that's another add a counterpart kind of thing.
Yeah, like, and maybe she just comes in for 1 turn. She gets to take 3 actions. If she finishes off the bounty, he still gets credit for the bounty, and then she leaves.
Oh, I like that. Like it's kind of like a Leia kind of weapon, but it has that special condition. I like that.
Yeah, drops in, gets to take gets to take a surprise shot or something like that. Like that'd be kind of cool, and it'd be a cool way to get. I'm trying to think of the name of the shapeshifter from episode 2, but Zam Wessel.
That's it. That is it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a way to get Zam Wessel into the game without having to be like, hey, because like Zam Wessel is like one of those bounty hunters like where you're digging to the bottom of the barrel. But if he can subcontract Zam Wessel to teleport in, kind of like how reinforced character, like your reinforcements come in beyond distance 2 of anybody else, but then they get to take 2 actions and they have steady, so they get like they can move, shoot, and then boom, they're in the game now. Like that could be a 1-pip, and maybe they come in and they have to activate last or something like that. Like that'd be a cool thing, and it would be a really cool way to make him stand out in addition to being like gunslinger and having cool movement.
Yeah.
All right, so Dengar,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. You want to? He's one of your favorite characters, so you go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, so to me, like he's definitely because we have Boushh in sense as the sniper kind of character. I think Dengar would be more of your item versio in the sense of his weapon, more of a heavy hitting rifle, something that still has suppressive, but does more damage, has more pierce.
Okay. I think when I think about Dengar, I think of a couple of things. I remember the first time I read about Dengar was in the Tales of the Bounty Hunters, where he had met Manaru and fallen in love, and she was changing it. He was going to turn over a new leaf, and then he helped. Like in that story in Legends, he pulled Boba Fett out of the Sarlacc. He kind of saved Boba. Yes. Then they became pretty tight. So like I could see maybe like a teamwork Boba Fett, right? Like maybe Dengar has teamwork with Boba Fett, but that's a little bit Legends, and that's not. Yeah,
stretching it because that's not canon anymore.
Right.
At all. But
he could have teamwork bounty hunter. Like, and it could work with any other bounty. Like, at the start of the, maybe at the start of the game, he puts a teamwork token on one bounty hunter in your list, and he has teamwork with that bounty hunter.
Okay, so I really like the idea. The only thing I can think of is that, from what I remember, I think he was in the stupid Aftermath series. He was in the Aftermath series book, and I think at some point he's talking about, it's every man for himself.
Yeah. So it could be a teamwork thing where it's maybe he gives somebody else teamwork with him, and maybe anybody else who kills his bounty that has the teamwork thing, he still gets credit for killing them. So he basically he uses other people to kill his bounty with the promise that he's going to split the rewards with them, but then after the game he doesn't, right? Yeah.
I like that more.
Yeah, so a teamwork aspect would be like maybe something to make him a little different. Or then again, they could also involve Manaru somehow, like somebody to help heal him when he gets hurt.
Yeah. What about I know we have Jedi Killer, but what about Smuggler Hunter? Because I don't know if it's still canon, but he had a grudge against Han Solo.
He did.
His face got burned from the when Han Solo burned. And I think it was in a swoop race or something.
Right. Well, you could have. I think every once in a while, and they do this more so. AMG likes to do this with Marvel Crisis Protocol, where they add in certain keywords that are like in Marvel Crisis Protocol they do it with Team Tactics cards, but they also have it with Hulkbuster. So like certain game conditions that are very rare and very hard to kill, are very hard to make happen. But if they happen, they're awesome. Like, I'm going to jump out a little bit, but Marvel Crisis Protocol, they have Kraven the Hunter, who's one of Spider-Man's enemies. And there was this one comic book where he assumed Peter Parker's identity. Like, he became the new Spider-Man. He killed him and became his doppelganger or something like that. I didn't read that comic, but I read the cliff notes about it or something like that. It was something like that. And then there's a card that reflects that. And basically the way it works is, if Kraven the Hunter kills an enemy Peter Parker, you may play this card. Kraven the Hunter is now, you remove his miniature, he is now Spider-Man. You take your opponent's Peter Parker character, put it on your side, and this guy is now him, and he's now yours. And then like okay, that's broken. All right, but the thing is,
but that's super thematic and cool. Like, really thematic.
Exactly, it's super thematic. It's super cool, and it's almost impossible to pull it off. And I tried to pull it off recently and failed. But like, it's super cool if it happens. And so like maybe you could do something kind of like that, but maybe not so targeted. So here's an idea. Yeah. What if Dengar has when attacking, opponents lose uncanny luck? Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. So it gives him a grudge against Han Solo, but it also works against certain other characters. Not many. Like Lando happens to also have uncanny luck and stuff like that. So it's not as game breaking if it goes off, but it gives you a heck of an advantage.
Oh yeah. Okay. No, I like that. It's not too broken.
Yeah. Was Dengar supposed to be the bounty hunter they ran into on Ord Mantell? I think in one book it was, but I don't know if that's the current canon storyline. I
honestly don't know. I mean, that would make sense. That'd be cool.
I believe it was in Legends. I believe it was either Dengar or Boushh, but I'm not 100% sure. And that was supposed to make you be like, ooh, when you watch The Empire Strikes Back again. That's one thing I liked about the old Legend stories. They always were designed to make you go back and watch the original trilogy again. And when you got to the point where that one thing was referenced, you were like, ooh. It's like when you see IG-88 for his all of 1 second of screen time, you're like, oh, he was about to take control of the Death Star too, but it got blown up at the last possible second. Otherwise, that guy would have ruled the entire universe. You know.
Oh, I remember that story.
Yeah, it was there, and they were off the wall and they were crazy. But then Dengar had stories like that, right? So, so back to why we make our decisions. Who's going to win here? I think Jango Fett has more to offer, because so much of his, like, most of what we know of him is firmly canon. Dengar, most of what we knew of him is now in Legends, so I think it becomes harder for them to create his character right now. A little bit harder.
I want to say Dengar because he is. Yeah, I mean, we talk about how Jango can be different from Boba, and I think that's the only saving grace I have for Dengar. But I'm kind of going with how you were on the last one. I'm gonna go Dengar, but it's a heavy, like, leaning towards Jango.
You could, yeah.
It's very recognizable.
All right, I'll give you that. I don't think it's close at all. I think it's a Jango. I think Jango. It's like an 80-20. You know, I think the only way that they make a push for Dengar is if Dengar shows up in, you know, in some movie trailers and Book of Boba Fett and all this other stuff and in the comics. You know, and he's been in some comics. He's certainly been in stuff. And the rumor is that he was also in Rise of Skywalker.
No.
You know the guy I'm talking about.
I don't believe it.
That droid, right? Whose name was an anagram of Dengar, and like maybe, and if that's true, then maybe that influences Dengar. Maybe Dengar's got a flaw that he's addicted to machinery, and he's a cyberpunk, and he's trying to constantly live forever. And you know, I don't know if I like that story as much. I like the idea of him finding Manaru and kind of finding happiness and giving up bounty hunting. But
it was the big thing about that was that he had like a brain tumor or something that stopped him from feeling things. So it's like she was a psychic race or something.
Oh,
if I can recall.
It was, yeah, I think it was something like that. Wow. All right, we're gonna move on to the third and final. All right, so in this one, we are split again. So you're going with Dengar, I'm going with Jango. Yep. All right, we're gonna move on to our third and final. And let us know in the comments what you guys think. Yeah. We're moving on to the third and final battle. We're crossing eras once again. Although this one is maybe not cross. Like, I think in all of these they are cross era, but you can make the argument that they're not exactly cross era, because granted, it's only 20 years. These characters are all older than 20 years old anyway, so whatever. But generally cross era. I'm going with Cham Syndulla on the right and Princess Leia Organa, aka Boushh, the bounty hunter, in her Return of the Jedi disguise on the left.
It is very cool armor. Very cool armor.
Oh, I would love it. She was oobies, and I remember being a young teenager, and I had, you know, when I got my own TV in my room and stuff, I remember watching this. The THX trilogy had come out on VCR, and I remember watching it with closed captions, and she's like, Yoto, and it says, speaking oobies. I'm like, oh, I now know the language because I have the advanced technology of closed captions. And so you've got Princess Leia in a disguise as a bounty hunter, versus Cham Syndulla, freedom fighter, and specifically here, I'm going with Clone Wars Cham Syndulla. Although I mean, he has a place in Rebels too, but yeah, definitely Clone Wars is where you want to put him at. Yeah. All right, so you want to start this off, or you want me to?
You know what? I want to start talking about Cham, because I think he's a very unique spot in the Republic. It could be a cool battle force if, like, hey, you get Blurg Riders and like Twi'lek Resistance, like that could be a cool way to relaunch him. But if we're just thinking straight up just leader, he could be another kind of like hybrid in the sense of a Padme style, as in he's a support, but he has his own fighting things. I could see him being somewhat strategic. You know, maybe that's the way Republic can get reinforcements, because he did have to, you know, strategize Twi'leks and all that.
I could see reinforcements being a thing there. You mentioned Blurg Riders. I think that was one of the things I definitely thought about with Cham. I wonder if he could be like, you and I have speculated, and we did this in the first season of Double Critical a little bit. We talked about mounted commanders, or mounted characters that would have both a mounted.
Rune Wars.
Rune Wars had that, yeah, but you'd have both a mounted and a dismounted version. Han Solo on a Tauntaun was one of the first things that we both thought about. It would be a great option for something like that. But I think Cham on a Blurg is a fantastic option for a mounted character. So
totally see it.
yeah, so not only would you get an iconic character from the Clone Wars that definitely fits in there, and you give him to the Republic, obviously. But then you also have a great and recognizable opportunity to introduce mounted commanders, and he wouldn't even have to be the only one. You could it could be a mounted commander wave, but maybe you do him and Tauntaun Tauntaun Han. All right, I'm terrible. I'm so bad. But anyway, yeah, that's what I think that's a cool thing to consider. Yeah, and you could do he could be part of a Ryloth wave. Now, if he is part of a Ryloth wave, that would be much farther down, right? So maybe not.
And you can balance it out too, because I mean, the Ryloth wave could also I'm thinking like Battle Forces, like it could have some clones in it, because you had Waxer and what was the other guy? Waxer and something were the ones that were the main clones in the Ryloth arcs. The one The girl gave the helmet, and then he had that picture of the Twi'lek girl on his helmet.
And who was? I think it's fair enough to talk a little bit about the Bad Batch, but who was the guy? The dreamboat kind of the with the scar on his face.
Oh yeah, that's right. Dreamboat.
Yeah. Oh, he had a little smolder going on there, but yeah. But
Ranger cut hair.
Yeah, absolutely. He looked kind of like Anderson Cooper in a way, But no, but yeah, there's definitely some named clones you could associate with his wave. This way they would fit into the regular clone army and also work with him. So I think that he definitely works in the Republic faction. And I think Clone Wars has brought, new levels of success and recognizability to Star Wars Legion as a game. And so I think, more Republic characters is really, really cool.
Yeah.
That being said, Princess Leia, right? And there's so much I want to talk about with Boushh.
Okay. You make your case to me, because I'm going to tell you right now, I am strong on Cham Syndulla.
Oh, really?
Very weak on Boushh Leia.
Really? Oh, okay. Because
I do not think we'll ever see Boushh Leia.
Really? Okay, so before we were talking about this, you were saying you thought that we were going to be the same on all these picks. I think we're going to be completely different.
I was wrong about that.
I don't think. Yeah. So all right. So I think Boushh Leia is the coolest character and one of the greatest things they could possibly do for this game for a number of reasons. For one, we've already got Jedi Luke or Operative Luke and Operative Vader, and so I think that set a precedent of, hey, let's do multiple versions of a character.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay,
that's a good one.
So the precedent is there to have multiple versions of a character, and for it being 2022 and times are changing, like Disney owning Lucasfilm and all of this other stuff, they're really shying away from the bikini Leia. Right.
Yeah.
And I understand the socio, political climate or whatever, and I understand the reasons why, and I'm not even complaining about that. It is what it is. I'll always have my memories, right? But here represents a fantastic way to represent an episode 6 Leia. I say episode 3. This is the third movie. I guess the Leia they have is I guess the Leia they have is already from that. But if you go with kind of
Endor Leia.
Yeah, they have Endor Leia, which is cool, but how many other Leias can you do? Because to me, the Endor Leia is a hybrid between Endor Leia and Hoth Leia. Because I painted mine in Hoth colors, and she fit perfectly. So the sculpt is almost a perfect hybrid between the two, because they made very sure to make Endor Leia on the box, but they didn't put that helmet on her. So this way, it works perfectly as Hoth Leia or Endor Leia. So if they ever want to do another version of Leia, I think you've only got two options, as long as you're doing it for the Rebels. You've either got Princess Leia in the white with either the earmuffs. Granted, you do have the pose of her shooting the stormtrooper. Whatever. I don't think that fits Legion as much, because she was very much like a political, a senator. Or you even have her with the white, which she's presenting the medals and stuff. But that's like ceremonial garb, and it doesn't fit a battlefield. Versus this version, which is maybe a little bit less recognizable to some, but for me, it's very recognizable, because I didn't see the original Star Wars in the theater. I didn't see any of the Star Wars movies originally in the theater. I was a child of the 80s. And the first Star Wars movie that I have vivid memories of seeing was Return of the Jedi. It came out on VHS when I was young enough to sit in front of a TV and remember what I was watching. And so when I was young, and in my early formative years, it was all about Return of the Jedi. So I was Wicket the Ewok for my first Halloween that I can remember. Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie. My favorite. Now, granted, I understand that Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, is the best one. I get that. I'm not even trying to dispute that with the masses. But my favorite is Return of the Jedi. And
that's fair.
That gives Leia Boushh a lot of bonus points, because that was how I really remember Leia a lot. But going beyond just my bias, that just explains my bias and why she's important to me. This also gives Leia some really cool opportunities mechanically in the game. First off, this is the only instance of Leia that represents her as an operative.
Okay. And
so you can easily do operative Leia as Boushh. And you can do, and the action figure had like the helmet came on and off and stuff, so you could do a helmet sculpt or not.
Yeah. So
okay.
My thing is, how different is Leia because she just put on armor? Like, is she gonna have? I mean,
sure.
You make an entirely different character just because she has different armor, and it's. I mean, yes, gameplay wise, yes.
Yeah, right. The armor would literally change from white dice to red dice. So yes, right.
Yeah.
And the weaponry would change. She had a huge staff, so she'd have some great. So she would have upgraded weaponry. She had a thermal detonator, which is a great one pip. That's her one pip right there.
I have a picture of like that thermal detonator too.
It's right here. Yeah. So this is I think. But yeah. So right. So how different would she be? I think you answered your own question. I think you mean like how different would like her character attributes and stuff like that be?
Right.
And since her function here is different, like here's where I'm going to continue where I'm going with this, because I think you asked a good question that's going to fuel the rest of my points. If you make her as an operative here, this does some tremendous things for her. It allows her to be focusing on her melee prowess. And now, granted, this represents before she knew anything about the Force, or before she knew she was Luke's sister. So I don't think you would give her a Force upgrade. I don't think we're gonna do like a sequel trilogy Leia or anything like that anytime soon. Although that is a cool idea for the future if they wanted to do Leia training with Luke.
Do you give her bounty?
Yes.
What? Oh wait, no.
Well, all right. Now the reason being.
Bounty hunter though.
Right. Oh no, she came in. She came for the bounty on this Wookiee, and I believe. In between scenes, I believe she got paid. I believe she got paid for that bounty, even though.
It's possible.
Well, granted, okay, we could do it two ways. You could do bounty or secret mission. She could have secret mission.
I think secret mission.
But I like the idea of bounty better. But then again, she'd have to turn in one of her own. All right. So what I'd go a little bit different with the bounty, because I like the idea of giving her bounty. But I also want to say that she starts incognito.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
that sounds
incognito.
Yeah.
Incognito is a great way to say you can't shoot her, because whoever she's going up against, her backstory is, hey, no, you guys don't want to shoot me. I'm turning in a bounty to you guys, right? Yeah. And so maybe secret mission is more appropriate. So I get that. But what I was going to say is maybe she starts off with bounty, and if she loses incognito, she also loses bounty. So as soon as she reveals herself, the bounty is now worthless. But here's why she wants to reveal herself. What was she trying to do, if you remember, when she was going into Jabba's palace?
Break Khan out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I interpret that as being one of two ways. She can either recover a character who's been defeated.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And they come back with only one hit point, and perhaps cannot even be healed, because remember Han had hibernation sickness and stuff like that, right? So they come back at some kind of tremendous disadvantage, but they can come back, or maybe she just heals somebody, that's
not cool enough. You gotta go. I think you gotta go with your first option.
Yeah, and maybe that's the one pip. Maybe
you're gonna full tilt it and go with that one.
Yeah, like that gives her a huge ability. But I think if that's the command card, you'd have to tie it into a way that regular Leia couldn't use it. And so what I would say by that is it'd probably be a 2-part card, right? And maybe it's got divulge. And if you divulge this card, then Boushh gets incognito. And then then it goes back to your hand. You don't have to play it first turn, but the idea is you play it, then Boushh, if Boushh has incognito, Leia Boushh, she loses it and can return somebody. So the idea is this way it keeps regular Leia from being overpowered, but it gives this Leia the option of I can stay incognito and then save Han or Luke or somebody, right? Now you're gonna know that I have that, and then your opponent, the weakness is, the balance is your opponent. All they have to do is get close enough to her to
kill Leia.
Yeah. Or just get close enough to her to make her. If you're within distance 1, then she can lose incognito. So, so that's the idea. You also have the idea of having a thermal detonator card, and so I think that with like the thermal, there's certain command card ideas, and I've got like the 3 of them. One is like someone who loves you, which would be the card that either brings somebody back or something like that, or something powerful to that extent, mirroring her rescue of Han. It could also have the alternate use of just removing a bounty token from a character, right? Like that's like, just getting Han out of trouble. And the other command card idea I have for her is just based on a line where Jabba says, "This bounty hunter is my type of scum. She's fearless and inventive." So I think that's a great, like maybe a 2-pip, since it's got 2 words, fearless and inventive.
That's a good one.
I think she's got a lot of this, like a lot of the lore and a lot of the flavor for the game built into what you see of her already. And I think incognito is a great way to do it. So I think Cham Syndulla fits the overall picture better, but I think all of the cool stuff that happens with Leia as Boushh, plus it's an alternate Leia that allows them to kind of
stuff,
and not that Leia needs help, but if they're gonna do multiple versions of characters, like maybe they'll do a mounted Han. I mean, Han obviously he's already commander, but they can easily do him as a scoundrel, scoundrel Han or solo Han, or basically as an operative. If you want to get Leia in there as an operative, this is your only shot.
I guess you've made a good point. I think Leia being her in her armor is very recognizable. Cham is not so much for people outside Clone Wars, unless you put him on a blur. I think if they do the mounted Cham, it would be it would probably come out before Leia. But you've put me on Leia's side. She's recognizable.
I didn't specify if Cham was mounted or not, since you can only see his face there. So yeah, I think you got a good point there. I'll agree with you that if he was mounted, then it would be Cham first, possibly. Yes. But Leia Boushh is going to be pretty darn cool.
Yeah, it's movie franchise. So you're gonna get nostalgia kick in. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to. As much as I was saying earlier, I think Leia would probably come out first rather than Cham.
Woo! Yeah. All right, we got one convert over here. All right, so I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Again, if you're, just a refresher, we've got Leia as Boushh versus Cham. We've got Jango versus Dengar, and we've got Thrawn versus Mace Windu for this episode of Double Critical Season 3. Let us know who you think is coming first. And I think that's gonna kind of wrap things up.
Those were some tough choices in there. Like I'd say, I'm impressed you convinced me, because we didn't prep too much, but I was like, you saw Leia Boushh, like, I don't think that's happening, but you did good, man. You did good.
It's very different than seeing like Lando in a skiff guard disguise, because that one is like there's not as much there. It's just other than him like pulling the mask down. It's like somebody at work who's supposed to be wearing their mask and they pull it all the way down. Like, the mask is supposed to go above your nose, doofus. It's like one of the, like, that's what he did. I'm like, why are you pulling your mask down that much? Oh, it's for the cameras, so we know that it's Billy D. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up for today. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out. Sean, thank you again, and we will talk to you guys later. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing, and we'll talk to you soon. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Have a good day, all.